OMG were able to stop EDG from picking up a 2-0 sweep from their home arena in Chengdu. And now they're taking it to game number 3. The question is, can they take it all the way and actually win this entire series and keep their playoff dreams alive for now?
Oh, yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I just called you Pulse.
Hi, Pulse.
G'day, Pulse.
It's me,
No,
Pulse.
I don't know. OMG have just shown that they can win games. I think EDG have also shown in the past couple of weeks that they can lose games against literally any team, including TOP, including LGD, all of the bottom of the table of the opposing conference. And so right now, it's about can they shape up for game number 3? Or do EDG start to really just impact their standings even further? Is this the start of the fall of EDG? We're going to have to find out.
They can also take games off teams like Snake. So are they just preparing for playoffs? Are they, practicing their best of 3 strategies?
Honestly, I think they are just the 3-game kings right now of the LPL. They love themselves a 3-game series. OMG still look good, however. We don't want to just take away from EDG's performances and say that Game 2 was a wash. I still think it looked very good from them. We saw that Icon got the MVP. I think his performance on the Cassiopeia was outstanding. I think Firelily shaped up as well. He looked a lot better.
Still looking towards Maestro as well. Had a good performance on Braum in the bottom lane. Top side of map for OMG was night and day, though. We saw Sion having the advantage in his lane. Icon was doing well against Scaly mid lane, as you said, Firelily stepping up. EDG tried to target the bottom lane, and they were successful in getting a couple of ganks off, but ultimately it didn't matter. When it came to the team fights, the top side was just too strong.
Yeah, I think this is a lot of the, EDG didn't accelerate the whole map well enough. I think the Ray was actually a little bit too far behind still, and the Swain in the middle lane, I agree with the desk, just was super disconnected. There wasn't really any genuine value in the Swain pick for the mid lane. I still would have preferred that it went top lane and that we got something like the Taliyah for mid lane. We've already seen how good he is on Taliyah, so again, why not do what works the best for you? Why put yourself on something that I think is the 2nd best or the 3rd best, even further down that list perhaps?
It's not broken, don't fix it.
Yeah, they still force themselves down these rabbit holes, and for me, again, it goes through the draft. That draft then affects the play style, and that's something that we'll have to be watching as we get through the draft of the game 3 and into the... But the difference that we'll be looking towards is, can Scout actually be unlocked in mid lane? Can he actually influence the rest of the map? Can he go to the bottom lane, which is where they look so good in game number 1? Can Ray do the exact same thing? There was one good teleport, and then he just lost top lane afterwards, and he was completely locked down into the confines of that top lane. That's what we're looking towards, I think, with EDG past the draft, where they looked a little bit shaky in game 2.
Because their drafts were always good. We already talked about how they were using their flex picks well. It seemed like they had the right idea, and the difference between game 1 and 2 almost felt like EDG had a strategy for game 1, and they executed really well. Their strategy for game 2 was to pick on bottom lane. Didn't work out as well as they planned.
Yeah, they tried to execute a completely different strategy. Yes, get the bottom lane going, but the team fight execution was entirely different. It wasn't what worked for them in the first game. Instead of just killing the front line of OMG, trying to play front to back with the gold advantage that they had, they tried to get into the back line. But trying to get past all of the tanks that OMG have got is nearly impossible. The Zack's never going to get access to that back line. Nah, unless he is Mega, isn't either. And then they had to respect the Camille, who was constantly flanking, hitting the back lines, looking for those pickoffs. And there was nothing iBoy would be able to do besides be a hero to even trade. Yeah. He did try.
He tried really hard to be a hero. A couple of times was able to pull it back for EDG, just never enough. And despite the fact that OMG can fight from behind, this is weird for EDG because they are known as the team fighting team. Ahead or behind, the team fights haven't looked all that clean for them. They are in game 1.
Yeah, they're a very good team fighting team. I'd never want to coin them, especially this split, as the team fighting team, especially with a lot of their identities shifting now. Haro joining the mix. I think the Clearlev was a major part of their engage, and why we would ever want to call them the team fighting team. That's still WE to me, Fish. I think I'll just commit to WE. But EDG still have very good team fighting, and it's all around Mako. They're known as the team that hits 12 minutes, they place a ward behind your turret in the bottom lane, and then they just dive you.
Which they did in game number 2. In fact, Mako wasn't even subtle about it. Walked over all the vision for OMG and said, I'm going bottom lane, you're not going to stop me. They got 2 kills from that flank as well and opened up the game for them to take, but it was OMG who came back in that match. Picked the win, heading into game number 3. OMG now back on blue side with Xayah Rise, as well as Alistar being banned out here. EDG take away Varus, Cassiopeia, as well as Swain.
A lot of respect with their Cassiopeia ban, and when you look at the difference between the bans, the Gangplank is up and available for OMG and for EDG, which seems to have commanded a lot of respect. We'll have to see how high a priority that does land themselves in the draft.
But chug, as Olaf gets locked in for Firelock this time in the jungle. So trying to see if they could go towards Tahm Kench instead, but it's picked up by EDG.
interesting, of course, that the priority does lie with the Olaf. Knowing full well where EDG would go as a response, it shows that they want to give a bit more control to Philoli, a bit more tempo in their jungle position specifically. Look at the rest of the map. EDG have responded, however, and they've gone towards the expected Sejuani and the Tahm Kench that was hovered for Mako. Means that iBoy could play pretty much anything he wants now, and he's going to be protected. Hyper carry is always a possibility.
Can they bully Hara the way
That's
that
early.
Philoli was bullied in game 1, but Kog'Maw second pick for OMG?
I feel like that's just purely denial. If there's a Tahm Kench locked in, perhaps iBoy was just going to go towards it. Zaya's banned, Varus is banned, and I wouldn't just sit there and say, you know what, Kog'Maw's the 3rd highest priority champion. There's still the Ezreal, there's still the Tristana. Plenty of options available for the bottom lane. Caitlyn's the big one as well that you would expect is locked in here.
I do like the Braum pick away from Sejuani. Takes away that passive combo. That's 2 times now that OMG denied that from EDG. They got it themselves in game number 2. And you're right, iBoy picks up Caitlyn as his AD carry of choice to go up against the Kog'Maw.
It's the obvious choice, of course. Has a decent amount of lane control, works well with the Tahm Kench if they want to win the 2v2 or at least attempt to do so. And it's the rest of the map that now starts to get focused. I like these bans from EDG. The Karma makes a whole lot of sense. Even an Orianna if they want to follow it up with another supportive champion. The Cassiopeia is already gone.
It's her 3rd highest range as well. Only bested by level 9 Kog'Maw and level 9 Jinx. Not even Tristana can match the range now. I believe slightly. Tristana level 18 is about 10 range.
Late game, yeah.
The ban's coming through. EDG targeting mid lane, it seems. Karma being banned out against Icon. Camille being taken away from Ray.
It's a good ban. I'd expect another mid lane ban unless there's a priority in another lane like the top lane, perhaps. I know Camille's already gone. Nas maybe soon to follow, depending on their priorities.
Sion is the final ban, taking the tank away from both Icon as well as Sion.
Yeah, it was an overall good champion, 2 ban away.
It was, when we first hit 8.5 and a little bit late in 8.4, Sion was must pick or ban first rotation. We're seeing internationally as well now. It's falling off the priority, but still very heavily favored in the final stages of the draft phase.
It's no longer the first 3 picks, must pick or ban type of champions. I agree. I've started to see a lot less focus, but however, is still a massively strong champion. It's just that the priorities have increased for other roles and other positions. Olaf, of course, being that number 1.
Talia getting banned out here. This is what Scout goes towards, and he locks in the golden chicken of Emperor of Shurima. Azir is going to be played by EDG. Means that Ray will get the final pick. OMG do know what the mid lane is going to be. You can throw the counter there.
With Talia, Ryze, Cassiopeia, and Karma banned away from the middle lane position, they choose to pick Azir, and I feel like, yes, Scout has played the Azir. I actually do think that's more of a denial from Icon. And it makes me wonder where Icon's going to go with his respective pick into the Azir. The LCK has been super creative with their mid laners, with the places they want to go. What can outrange Azir? Traditional counters, you know, the Xerath, the Ziggs, the Vel'Koz, the things that we have seen over there, but no mid laners like that to be seen in the LPL. They go much more standard. Even though it doesn't counter, they pick to go even.
Let's see what Icon decides to throw in that mid lane. He was crucial to their win against EDG in game number 2. He's got himself an ace machine. Picking up Corki in the mid lane against Emperor of Shurima. EDG do know that Nas will be playing the top lane by Sion, so Ray can have his counter pick of choice.
Ray's just a bit of a tank for the most part, but the Gangplank, like we mentioned at the top of the draft, is still available. Things like the Cho'Gath are always going to be there for him, however, if that's where he wants to go. The composition has a lot of damage already, so it's about what they want to contribute as a team. If he wants to split push, Gangplank can split push and have some relevance across the map as well. And that's where he's going to go.
He's going to try and make him walk the plank because the Pirate's been locked in of Gangplank.
Have you got one for every champion?
Yes.
What about Yorick?
No. We wait till they get locked in.
Oh,
Not giving away my trade secrets. Come on, man.
What was Nah? I didn't hear it.
Nah.
Oh, was it? So that's why I didn't hear it.
I did not give it. I do have quite a few lined up, though. But it is going to be Gangplank played in the top lane. We already said there's a contested pick between Ray as well as Sion. Ray will get his chance to play the champion this time around. It has been nerfed since we saw it very popular at the start of the LPL. Still pops up now and then. Just not as impactful anymore.
We've lost the Bandit procs, which is one of the biggest things as well from most of the Gangplanks, but he still exists. We've even seen people veering away from Kleptomancy, going towards Grasp of the Undying as a lot of their runes of choice. And into the Gnar matchup, it's still good. It's still something that'll scale perfectly well. It just means that gold deficits are much more noticeable.
I do like how the Keystone and rune changes in general have brought about a more diversity. You used to see some champions would only go towards one. Now you can pick and choose depending on your matchup. Gnar's another one, going towards area or fleet footwork from time to time.
Yeah, depending on what you need in the lanes. Of course, the expectation here is that Gnar will try his best to control the lane, will still get himself that CS advantage, and that's what I mean by Gangplank falling behind, and maybe more significant. That's not the most important part of this map, however, with the team compositions completely secured. It's the early game for each respective team. How can they influence the bottom lane, or how can the mid laners be unleashed to influence the map? Because I don't think that EDG have drafted themselves the optimal situation here. It's not the best 5v5 for them, but it is something that can absolutely work.
Well, it's OMG have more early game pressure with Corki, Olaf, as well as Gnar on the top side of the map. Let's see if they can try and bully EDG the way EDG bullied them in game number 1. Still or die for OMG, and has been this entire series. They're going straight back onto the Rift, heading into game number 3.
Ah.
That's a big fountain turret.
The crowd's a bit sleepy today. There they are.
Hey, it's you. Hey.
Rabble.
Hey, you let EDG have their turn. It's meant to be OMG's turn. Calm down. All of you, listen.
The problem
Attention.
is, there's no harmony anymore. You can't tell what they're chanting for. You just know that they're all super excited. The OMG fans have a very good reason to be excited right now.
Yep.
It's not very often you get to see a victory in the Chengdu Arena, let alone against EDG. Now EDG now going to their second stadium in a row, I believe, after losing to Snake in Chongqing. They fly across to Chengdu. On the back foot now coming into game 3. Maybe the away system's hurting them.
Potentially. We've already talked about, when we first started the LPL, the curse of the home stadiums. Every home team has lost their game there. But since then, it's helped teams like Snake. LGD went on a short winning streak. It hasn't been good for them. With OMG, also similar story. Lost the first game, started to look good. Hasn't been looking good for them lately. They all want to do their home crowd proud. Pick up a win here against EDG, who are trying to bounce back after a loss against Snake.
Early start from Firelolly as well, looking towards the mid lane. This could be very good.
Trying to charge onto a Scout, nails the axe, going to pick it up, throw it again. Heal being used by Scout very early. Can they get 2 summoner spells? No, they can't. Scout relies on just a heal alone.
Now chooses to heal, chooses the lower priority summoner spell. I expected the Flash to dodge the second axe, perhaps keep himself with a bit more health, but I do respect that he's committed towards going to the heal and just wants to stand and deliver and stay in lane a little bit further. The flash cooldown being significantly longer, of course.
Whereas topside, Sion going for a very early trade against Ray. Jumps on top of the toy soldier. And it is Grass of the Undying that is picked up by Ray. No Kleptomancy, trying to survive this lane a little bit better.
Yeah, it helps a lot with the base stats that you get from being in the Resolve tree, though Grasp of the Undying is fairly difficult to proc against the Gnar, especially when the majority of the harass comes from mini form. But if he goes Mega, he wants to go forwards, perhaps hit you a couple of times. You can still get that off. It's nice to have. It's just perhaps better than any other Keystone in that tree.
Which was strange, because Kleptomancy gave you a lot of gold, did well against ranged champions, and often would give you a potion or two to sustain yourself in that matchup. It's not going to see that from Ray. He went for the Corrupting Potion start, has none left. Cheeky Haro steals away a Raptor from Firelolly.
It doesn't take the whole camp, knows that the Olaf is nearby. In fact, the pings from EDG directly onto where he is. Perfectly placed. This is conscious efforts to keep Scout alive as the primary focus there. That's why Haro doesn't extend himself too far. He's too low on health. He knows that the 2v2 would be a potential loss by the summoner spell disadvantage. And an Olaf being low health is always dangerous anyway. So they back away. They continue their merry routes, jungling, as you would expect.
Much more of a quiet game to start off with in game number 3. Bottom lane, as you'd expect, is pushing in for EDG, but Chelly is trading quite effectively against Iboy. Iboy using a lot of mana to push these waves in. Junglers have just been farming. Only a single gank in the mid lane against Scout, but a single summoner spell as well. And top lane was in favor of Siang. Ray is starting to push back in there.
Yeah, the wave will tend to ebb and flow in a Gangplank and a Gnar matchup simply because of how much presence is available. If you hit Mega Gnar, then Gangplank tries to trade with you. And speaking of trades, mid lane's going at it. But by trading, by going towards it as aggressively as you do in the top lane, as Gnar particularly, then you start to build up massive waves under the turret because you're trying to harass him there. And when it bounces back, usually the wave is too large to trade under, and that gives Ray and it gives most Gangplanks the opportunity to trade back. And so a lot of the time, this matchup looks poor, and then suddenly it looks great. And then it just goes back and forth between each respective top laner by doing that.
Ooh, Fire Lolly's looking to see if he can get a gank going. Ray has already backed away.
He's predated.
He's going to try and charge forward, deny some CS away from Seong as they went for that attempt, but does stop his recall. So he stays in lane without any potions left.
Had his eye in on a chance, and the stopping of the recall is the biggest win, like you mentioned. The thing that we have to look towards is, I don't think there'll be any ganks for a little bit longer now, is the fact that the Caitlyn and EDG's team composition may well be the perfect bridge to strength. I think that's where EDG have built themselves a decent draft from.
But they have to watch out for this too first, Rusty. Fire Lolly's going for a return gank. He puts the control ward in the lane, and that's the barrels being used. Ray's in some trouble. Fire Lolly's going to be able to collapse. Looking to try and flash away from the first axe. It connects, picks it up, throws the second one. Do they go for the turret dive? No, they don't. Good damage on the Ray to just get the summoner spell.
They definitely just wanted the flash. It also forces the recall and teleport from Ray very early on. He's choosing to walk the safe way, respecting where the Olaf will be, and teleporting to that lane then becomes just a little bit more risky. Can he afford to do that?
He also said that Caitlyn would be the good bridge point for EDG in this composition. They were trying to see if they could get a dive going, make her miss the tongue lash. They'll go straight for it. Chelly does have to be careful.
Looking. Oh, let him recall.
Seong?
Don't mean just die to a cannon. Don't mess with cannons. They did zone him. Most of the minions that are under the turret currently are going to go in EDG. They're not just looking to zone, they're looking to actually pressure the turret. It's a siege composition. That's what the Caitlyn provides. The ability to take down the structures, give gold to the rest of the team, and even if there's a gold deficit somewhere else on the map, the Gangplank is the obvious place you'd be looking towards right now. But even Azir wanting to be 3 items perhaps before being at the strongest 2 do work, they could get there just a little bit more soundly.
Maestro still playing this very well. Minion Dematerializer was picked up by Braum. Denies the cannon minion from adding that excess pressure onto the bottom lane outer turret. Also throwing up the shield to deny extra damage coming from Eyeboy whenever he can.
Those big chickens, man. You can't have them.
Only small chickens for Fire Lolly.
Now Haro's big chickens.
Just every time Haro walks into Fire Lolly's jungle and gets cheeky Nando's takeaway, it's not great.
It's not great for Fire Lolly, that's for certain. Haro's now going to have to path himself towards the top side, however, as the red buff is there, which means that OMG have a chance to get a gank off in the bottom lane, if they'd like. Again, junglers on the opposite sides of the map.
Fire Lolly did run down, but sees his red buff and he wants that instead.
That's a sorcery secondary as well from Eyeboy.
Potentially going towards Gathering Storm.
I would imagine it is Gathering Storm. He's also gone towards the mana flow ban, so not your standard choice.
Yeah, strange on Caitlyn. Caitlyn normally doesn't have that many mana problems, but it seems like he just wants to be a bit more oppressive in lane. They have stayed in lane for an incredibly long time. He's up close to 15 CS.
Which is nice. I mean, ultimately against the Kog'Maw, if you can prolong the first part of laning phase before he shops for items, set yourself up to succeed very well, especially as a Caitlyn.
Fire Lolly is looking for a gank, though. Runs straight through the lane. They tag him with the Winter's Bite. Mako's able to save him, but now is Mako the one that's in trouble? Nope. Fire Lolly just says, I'm going to push this wave with you.
Yeah, they're helping him recall. They're finally helping Chelly get back to base and spend all of his money. And that is a lot of money to spend. Mako may actually try and stop recall, so a lot of respect has to be paid here from OMG. That also gives an extra free wave to EDG if they control this well. You can see the wave crashing now. It's another free 6 minions, and there's no unsealed spellbooks. EDG still winning.
They also get to push this wave in underneath the turret. Will deny some more CS away from Chelly. Fire Lolly's still here, so picks up some CS for himself. Actually wants to hold it off the turret. Can he do it?
He can do it because EDG don't want to stop him from doing it, but he's going to lose so much health for this. Look, I'm not a jungler, but I would have taken the 3 ranged minions. I said, we're going to reduce the damage output here.
I would have taken all of them, and then Raz would have raged at me, which is great.
It's not great.
It is great.
No, because you do it to everyone, not just Raz.
Nah, just Raz. I'm doing it to anyone else. Just take all of Raz's cannon minions. He hates it.
Toxic, actually, by the way.
Top side of the jungle is available for Fire Lolly to clear, though, so he's rotating up there. We'll take those camps down. But again, quiet game between the two teams. EDG have found a gold lead for themselves, though. That's probably going to be all through the bottom lane.
Well, there's also
doing well.
CS advantage in the mid lane. Scout's been doing quite well for himself. I'm surprised that exists at all. When you think about the pressure and the presence that have been around that area, it's not significant. enough to perhaps warrant such a CS advantage. Blue buffs are pretty standard trades across the board, so for what it's worth, I think that it's just been some nice farming from Scout, and the small amounts of pressure that have been put in place by Haro seems to have amounted to this difference.
I am upset though. It was such a bloody game in game number 2, and now we sit back and watch as nothing happens. But Philo is going to try and change that Predator coming into mid lane. Missed the axe. He has a very weird purple shirt though.
There's constant attempts at ganks, however. It's very hard to take a second to stop breathing. It's just that nothing's been secured from all of these attempts.
This is where all the action's been though, Rusty.
The full Raptor take. Oh, there we go.
He's got an Oldham. Haro he's a chicken goblin.
He's not just the big chicken this time. It's all of your chickens that belong to me. And still the pressure on the bottom side. Haro's where he needs to be to enable this pressure. Yep. So it's a slow-paced game, but the reason it's slow-paced is EDG are controlling the tempo. They're controlling it to their own speed, and they're trying OMG to get ganks off. But all of these attempts haven't amounted into anything. They've seen Scout, by the way.
Yep, they know Scout's there.
But can they stop him at all?
Bottom lane out of turret is fairly low. Good trap's being placed down by iBoy. Stop Chelly from stepping up. Now we get some action. Teleport's well made. Seyoung is mega, but not for long. Forced to cancel. That means EDG can continue pushing.
He just kind of threw out the teleport casually. Wasn't sure that was going to amount into anything. It does back EDG away, but only for one wave. They just step up now and get themselves a turret. It's actually just going to be solo gold to iBoy as well.
So iBoy will get the turret. Seyoung's going to get one in return, though.
Yeah, they need to speed up the process. They will still try and give solo gold to iBoy. They do. They'll secure that one. But yeah, Seyoung is trading.
So OMG are falling behind here, but they are taking objectives back and they're playing this one well. You'd expect a Cogmore to fall behind her anyway, especially when you're up against such an impressive early game champion like Caitlyn.
And the reason that they're even able to get that top lane turret is because of the pressure that Firelolly placed towards the top side. The fact that he's always there, Ray, very respectful, doesn't want to teleport or recall safely, just keeps getting cancelled, and just like that, the turret gets low enough that they can chip away at it and secure it later on. Suddenly EDG, that one strategy they had was at least answered quite nicely from the OMG roster.
Where did they move towards now? Do they park iBoy and Mako top side of the map? Did they start moving towards mid lane? Because
by having an Azir, I would very rarely want to put him mid lane. It's very hard to put an Azir to a side lane, so I would put him top. But right now they've also got the Gangplank up there, and there's a chance that the way that OMG are playing this one out is they're still pushing bottom. So instead of going top, they may just reset and go back to bottom with item spikes again. And from that point, maybe generate a pick. But there's no Drake to look towards. So again, Herald's going to be the #1 objective on the map besides turrets. And I think that most of the presence will now shift towards top.
They still have Seyoung in the top lane. I'm waiting to see where iBoy walks towards. His supporters on the top side jungle, so you have to think that's where Caitlyn is going to move as well, taking another outer turret for the team. But again, Cogmore and Braum can just walk into the bottom lane outer and trade objectives again. Gangplank does have the security of having his ultimate, so he can clear one wave. Especially when they first swap sides, it's going to be a big wave that OMG can build up. Might be enough for EDG to start that siege once again.
Yeah, it doesn't have the completed Trinity Force, so he's not going to be fully clearing minion waves just yet either. Ray's going to have a pretty tough time if he tries to defend. He needs to know where the jungler of OMG is. The Olaf is currently invisible, and as a result, does have to use that ultimate.
We'll clear off this wave, so it gives EDG more time to push for that turret. They can go for the turret, move towards Rift Tower, push through. They are the ones that are the proactive team at the moment. They have the faster tempo, so to speak.
And they're not choosing to do the Herald just yet. It may well be a turret and then disengage to the Herald, and then you'd use that towards mid lane. That's what you'd want to see from EDG. Work as a team, do it all together. Clear the wave, set up the minion wave to push back towards them so that Ray can collect that one as well. And then get the Herald and clear mid lane.
Firelolly waiting to wings in case Ray tries to show himself. There you go. Disengage, move towards Harold. It's going to be picked up here by Harold. OMG decide to push through though. They're going to try and push through here. Firelolly looks to try and take blue away. Ray wants it.
Might force a smite.
Gets it easy.
There's a second smite just around the corner. There's also no Drake to be traded for. So EDG, if they can utilize this effectively, get themselves the Herald and actually use it to take down a turret, then they will still trade up, which is what you would expect of the Caitlyn, of the tempo advantage they were able to secure for themselves. First things first, get those items.
They're going back to base to purchase them. Scout might be ganked here again by Firelolly. Predator's going to make him chase down. Nothing's happening. This isn't the... You're lying to me. This is not the LPL.
A Scout just leveled up as well, so he's not going to lose any mana from that. Often you would find that running into an Azir's lane and constantly making him use his E to dash away, that uses a lot of mana.
Yep.
And he's not a mana building champion. He's going towards the Nash's Tooth first. He even has the 2 Doran's rings that don't stack in the mana regen anymore either. So ultimately what's meant to be a great idea, even though it doesn't look impactful or significant, is now actually not significant because he just leveled up and kept the mana fine anyway.
All the good things that the runes changes brought around. And also the fact that mana is now irrelevant to a lot of champions.
There's just so much of it. Everywhere.
Easy to pick up. Aika's going to be able to pick up blue buff for himself. That'll keep his mana topped up in the mid lane.
You know, your first thought as well in the rune change was like, oh, Ryze doesn't get free mana from everything anymore. That's a disaster. And then we changed all of the items.
So he gets mana on every single item.
Every item, yeah. Still good. You just can't get rid of Ryze.
How many times has Riot reworked the champion? 4 or 5?
More than enough.
When's his next one?
I haven't looked at the schedule.
It's about time. What are we going to do next? His ultimate now teleports people.
Maybe it could teleport and summon a Herald. That's balanced.
You can already teleport Herald, can't you?
Yes.
Alright, teleporting and summoning Herald. That's what Ryze needs to do next. No Ryze in this match, though.
EDG also just need to siege the mid lane and use the Herald, but they're not summoning it at the moment. They're still trying to control the vision first.
They've acquired a small lead for themselves, and they're the proactive team. What are OMG trying to do here? Just hold on, wait for Chelly to pick up 2 items, 3 items?
There he goes. They're trying to defend. They had a...
Oh, got him!
Was that blind?
I think that was... I think you could see the eye.
Yeah, they could see the eye, so he just made it a guess, and he guessed it perfectly correct.
That denies the Herald use, which is pretty nice.
Well, there you go.
Holds on. Icon might be looking to try and see if he can start a fight here. Fire Lolly uses Predator.
That was pretty.
Maestro's playing this series incredibly well.
He's shown mastery of Braum. He is playing Braum extremely well.
Who was it? Was it Mata that said it's not hard to be bad at Braum because all you have to do is hit your Q? I can't remember which player it was.
It's not hard to be good at Braum.
Not hard to be good at Braum, that's right.
Yes.
But he has been playing well. His decision makings have been strong for the team. And Fire Lolly have stepped up to the plate in this series, but EDG still take down the mid lane outer turret.
Yeah, they'll still get it, but you have to think about, like, firstly, they spend an extra 2 waves trying to secure that one. That's 2 waves where a Cogmore is going to collect extra CS. If that 2 waves is a minute worth of time, that's a minute closer to a second item. And all of this time is where EDG are meant to have the advantage, the control, and the tempo. A Caitlyn at 2 items who isn't actually going towards 2 items immediately. There's another crit cloak there. There's Brawler's Gloves.
Special delivery is on its way.
OMG now have opportunities to try and make some counterplays, and we're starting to see that. The package is available, the Drake is available as well. Remember, the in-combat movement speed that Cloud Drake now provides does add some value to it, to taking it.
2%. People think that 2% is not a lot, but there is a keystone room that literally gives you 3%. And a lot of players are taking that.
When you put them together and you get a lot. That's the thing, you get more than 1 Cloud Drake, you get a lot. Next Drake is also a Cloud Drake, so...
Triples out of combat
stack
as well.
them up.
Start running fast. We're taking a lot of damage in the mid lane. OMG might look for a flank here. They've got good vision control over the bottom side of the map. Haro's doing wolves. Backs do get cancelled. They try to engage. Haro looking to lock down Maestro. Scout pushes him further back into the team. Puts up the shield. Is it enough? Flashes over the wall. Steps on a trap. First blood finally picked up by EDG.
Yeah, 18-minute first blood is very delayed. That's the one. Delayed by quite an amount of time. And during all of this, the reason they even get the pick is that OMG are trying very hard to force trades on the back end. They wanted to get themselves the turret, but by delaying the recalls, it gives them an extra wave to hit those turrets. And suddenly, they just overstepped themselves. And unfortunately, we compliment Maestro. We talk about how good his performances have been. And now we get to see the undoing of that with positioning as well. He's just the member of OMG that has to pay the price, however, for the team's decision.
They were the proactive. They were trying to make their first proactive play. This match doesn't work out for them. And now 3,000. Hello. Icon?
They're
now 3,000 gold behind EDG at the moment. And it sounds like EDG have a nice lead, but we've seen what's happened last match when OMG were 3,000 gold behind. They didn't really care.
The composition of OMG also scales. That's the other thing. The Cogmore is there. The Corki is there. The Gnar is decent in the late game as well. And Brom's going to be super strong. Olaf is a bit in the middle of the pack when it comes to late game relevance. He's not going to be able to dive backlines just straight up by charging at them. On the opposite side, however, I really do like EDG's late game. And I'm not sure if they're just content going there and trying to team fight. Given how we've actually seen game 1 and 2 performances from EDG in these team fights, OMG have matched them quite well. They were losing when they were 10 odd K ahead. So this time, it may just be a power play. They want to make sure they get it right. And they're going to play it slow and get to those team fights in the correct position. No room for error, no room for mistakes. We'll have to see how they play it.
Something about iBoy liking to tank turrets here. Just took 2 shots for free. Zia's turret gets put up in the mid lane. It's 20 minutes into the match now, so Baron is going to spawn. For a skirmish. Sion is, raised on the bottom side of the map. Still split pushing for EDG.
Yeah, still has his teleport, and he's able to start stacking up his income as well by using the keg. He's able to clear waves super efficiently by being level 12, having the Trinity Force done. This is a good position for EDG. They don't have to 5v5 right now if they can put Ray successfully into side lanes. And you can tell from OMG that they want to bring Xiang around. You can actually feel that they need him there if they want a team fight, and by bringing him there, it shows that they're afraid of being sieged on and they want to actually team fight.
Much different build coming out from Sion as well. More team fight base, has the Warden's Mail complete. EDG are still looking to try and see if they can siege mid lane in a turret. Chipping away at it slowly, but they force a fight. Maestro connects with iBoy. Mako's forced to save him. That should just be OMG disengaging.
That Brom ultimate was a little bit of a reach, unfortunately, for OMG, and he is one of the major forms of crowd control that the 5v5 has. Past that, there is no hard CC available. His passive and his Q, of course, are still there to enable the rest of the roster.
And the Time Catch almost unlocks this composition from EDG, because iBoy can make plays at that, where he steps up, gets chip damage on the turret, and trusts his support to save him if Maestro just tries to throw out his ultimate.
Yeah, I think that's where the Brom ultimate is meant to counteract that fact, of course. If he's able to lock down Mako as well as iBoy, or the second that he tries to gobble someone up, Mako can't disengage because he's secured. You don't assume that Xiang will always be there in the team fights, but OMG have been trying to. Of course, he is the other form of crowd control and engage.
Yep.
But right now, if Brom doesn't have an ultimate, they're not engaging, unless Xiang is there. So that's what you're looking at with OMG. They're on the back foot. They're against the siege composition. The siege is starting to chip away consistently at their structures. They want to fight. They want to prevent it from happening. And step number 1 usually to do that is to get a pick instead of a team fight. Maybe get one member down, prevent them from sieging at all. The next step is actually bring the Gnar, try and 5v5, or catch them out when they overstep too clear.
Well, there is Gnar. Takes quite a bit of damage from Caitlyn there, doesn't pick up his boomerang in response.
It's just a mini Gnar.
Big difference in items for AD carries at the moment though. Infinity Edge Static Shift completed, level 2 boots, and a Zeal for iBoy. Shelly's struggling to find gold at the moment. Rage Blade, as well as a Hurricane. Still just the brown boots.
He has got his 2 items at the very least, so the Kog'Maw's base damages are super high at the moment. Caitlyn definitely set up to succeed, especially at the rapid fire cannon mark. And Scout also having 2 completed items is good, but it's the Liandry's Torment, so he's looking for consistent damage through all of the team fights. Utilizing that AoE in the Liandry's, of course, the damage amplification is nice. I don't know how much that'll result to any kind of raw DPS output, especially with the Nash's Tooth before it. He does want a 3rd item.
He does want that 3rd item, but it's going to take some time. All the resources are being taken by Gangplank as well as iBoy. He's forced into a side lane, somewhere where he doesn't really want to be. Trying to lock down iBoy here. Forced to use his 90 caliber net over the wall. Mako not wasting his chomp to try and save him.
Yeah, not even standing next to iBoy at all. Not even pretending like he was going to devour him and keep him alive. Walks away. If need be, yeah, I can turn back around and save him. And I like that from Mako. More often than not, the way that teams will play out fights with a Tahm Kench there is pretend you're going for the carry, but you're really going for the Tahm Kench and kill him before he's able to save someone.
Such slow and patient play coming out from EDG though. It's slowly bleeding out OMG. It's a 4,000 gold lead. Dragon's just respawned. We're going to pick up an Elemental Dragon again. Triple Cloud Dragon.
It's almost taunting, the way I see this game. It's intentionally slow. It's slow for a reason as well, right? If OMG are a bottom-of-the-table team, we even said before this set, potentially the worst team in the entire LPL, then you play it slow. You make them really think about what they have to do next. And if they're the worst team in the league, they won't know what to do next as well as EDG. So if it's a 1,000 gold lead, suddenly it's a 1,500 gold lead in the next 5 minutes. And that's not significant, but if that continues to happen every 5 minutes, eventually the game just gets completely blown out of proportion from nothing happening. Or OMG, again, it's the LPL, they'll feel a need to do something soon. And they may make the wrong decision.
Well, we can see where the gold lead is. Most of it's in the bottom lane. 1,400 in favor of iBoy. Mid lane is a nice gold lead of about 1,000. Top lane is about 700 in favor of Ray. So it's spread out. It's not all on one person. And OMG should feel very confident because they are not rushing anything. They're not being impatient. They looked for a play, it didn't work out. They lost their support. They know they can scale up. They know they can wait.
But they are falling behind in terms of carries. Yes. That is a rapid fire cannon done now for iBoy. He is so far ahead, 60 CS over his opponent in Shelly. Without those even upgraded boots from OMG's AD carry, he is very susceptible to gap closing and movement speed.
Oh, they want to fight. Fire Lolly just takes way too much damage there, and there goes Maestro trying to lock down iBoy, saved by Mako. First up, it's going to be Horror over Sion. It's a big Mega Knife, locks down iBoy again. Winter's Bite passive is there, jumps on top of it, they killed iBoy! That's the main carry gone! Double kill, however, going over towards Ray. The Pirate comes out big! EDG win a team fight!
And the main carry being dead doesn't actually mean the only damage on the team. Scout still exists. 3-0-3 on the Azir. He's having a pretty strong showing in that team fight. Ray shows up to the party as well and makes it work. And they don't have a jungler, but they still have enough damage and tankiness to secure themselves a Baron. And EDG set themselves up to snowball this game out.
And it definitely didn't look like the team fight that OMG wanted to take there, Rusty. We were just talking about it. EDG are the more experienced team, and when Fire Lolly steps like this and has no health to start a fight, it's not good.
Yeah, the fight for vision is the biggest thing here. iBoy hits a lot of crits, and Mako keeps him alive. So, yes, he gets caught out. Xiang plays the fight well, but look at the lack of health bars on the rest of the team by the time that Xiang gets that ultimate off. That's the thing, and the rest of the fight is free. Scout plays it out incredibly well, as does Ray, to get into the backline and kill everybody, as all they do is Zerg iBoy.
That's all that OMG did. Hey, EDG played the ramp so well. Ray's ultimate separated the entire team. As you mentioned, Icon got free damage with his Sand Soldiers. It couldn't be more perfect than that.
They actually just didn't touch them. They didn't realize that Scout and Ray existed. Yes, it was the best case scenario for EDG. The Tahm Kench can only save one person, but that was the only person their eyes were set on.
Now they're trying to push through to the mid lane inhibitor turret, taking this one down low. Ray threatening with barrels. One Sand Soldier attack takes Shelly to half health. They've actually locked in Icon. You need to say, you know what, we're done. We're done playing this patient game.
Going.
Welcome to the LPL. We want to fight. We're going to fight all of you now. 3 kills already picked up. EDG are pushing towards the base.
And 3 very easy kills. Xiang not there to defend. He's sitting in mini form and he has to recall. And EDG, they only have a cannon, but they have Hara to tank, and it looks like they're going to try and threaten the game.
Already pushing on towards the Nexus. They have that cannon, but no minions to tank those turrets at the moment. Such long death timers on the 3 members that are currently dead for OMG. Means Fire Lolly and Xiang, unfortunately, all they can do is watch helplessly as their base gets destroyed. Slow and steady. Yes, it wins the race here for EDG, but they ended up with a bang. They want to go for fights because that's the stylish way to do so. At the Chengdu Arena, in front of all of OMG's fans, they finally pick up the series 2-1.
And it's still in front of a lot of EDG's fans there as well, and they get that redemption, and I really like this showing from EDG. We see a confident play from them. We see them say, okay, we lost the second game, these things happen, slow the game down. Let's play what works for us. Let's go back to League of Legends 101, play our lanes out, win the CS advantages, force OMG to come to us.
And there's something about EDG and always sending us to game number 3.
Yes, there is.
Against LGD, against TOP, now against OMG as well. But we did see some improvements from OMG, which was nice to see. Just too little too late, it feels.
Well, it's definitely too little too late now, Fish. They've removed themselves from playoff contention completely, I believe. Their last chance, it was in their own hands to get the victory at all. This is that one thing that they could control, and unfortunately they couldn't control it. EDG proved far too strong.
Look, all they had to do was win every single one of their remaining matches and not drop a single game. Unfortunately, not able to do that as EDG shut them down here. They pick up the points. It was a little bit messy, but game number 3 was a class act from EDG.
Yeah, the third was not messy at all. They just play slow and steady League of Legends. That's all you need to do, and that is the mantra, and I really do appreciate and I respect that from EDG. They're a side that Every time you hear them in the mic checks, they're calling slow down, slow down. They want the pace of the game to be at their control, their tempo. From minute 1 to the end of the game, it was at their tempo. And OMG was simply dancing to the beat of their drum.
Much different games as well. Game 1 as well as 2 were so bloody, and games 3 were just where it's going to be slow. You're not going to like it, OMG. I'm pretty sure that last fight must have been a desperation play.
Yeah, it wasn't comfortable. It wasn't pretty. It's not something that OMG ever want to experience, and I think that being on the back foot does force OMG into these very awkward decisions, these places they don't want to find themselves in. Have to take this fight. Why do we have to take this fight? Not even OMG knows, but they took it anyway. And it was over a ward in this case. It wasn't even over the Baron being started. I'm sure EDG were happy to dance for another couple of minutes, play the game out, and continue to be slow. OMG forced it. EDG said, absolutely, let's do it.
See, that's what happens when you pinch pennies. You fight over a 75 gold ward, and suddenly you lose your entire match, and your hopes and dreams for going to playoffs are completely crushed there.
Sure.
Just don't fight over wards.
Don't
is the
pinch
motto, apparently.
pennies.
Don't pinch pennies. Don't fight over wards. Send it back to the analyst desk.
So let's break down why OMG decided to fight there. Thanks, gentlemen, for the cast of the day. I'm still Froskier, and this is still Clement, and we're going to start in draft phase because both you and I had the exact same call when we started going through this draft. As soon as the core key was locked in from blue side, we said, where is the Echo? He's played it against EasyHoon. He's done very well with it. It's a signature champion. And look at all of the AD type of damage with Olaf, Kog'Maw, Gnar, and Corki all on the same side. So where was it, Clement?
Well, first of all, Corki's still mainly magic damage, but to be fair, I think they wanted to protect the Chelly a little bit, so they didn't want to go for something that would move them out of the team fights. The Echo is a very weak pick in terms of the team fights. It's an all or nothing pick. If you land the W, then you could get 3 people, but most of the times you get 0. So they wanted to go with something a bit more consistent in the Corki. However, I have to say, I still don't like the OMG comp because it's an involuntary 1-3-1. And it's an involuntary 1-3-1 with a Kog'Maw in the mid lane, which has very little chance of escaping people going all in on him, for EDG to fully commit on him. And what basically made this happen is, even though they wanted to play a 5v5, they couldn't contest a 5v5 against EDG, so they had to play the side lanes and a 1-3-1 to the Kog'Maw.
And
doesn't work.
Again, you look over at EDG's composition. This is the classic Caitlyn, Gangplank, Azir. You are never going to be able to out-5 this comp.
Yeah.
Is this, we talk about EDG's adaptation, how when you give them time to create a structured plan, that they are the best in the LPL at doing it. And of course, adaptation between games means that. So for you, was this the correct call?
So this was a very conservative call, I would say. It was basically a team composition that scaled very late into the game. They looked at the series and they realized, oh, wait a minute, OMG can take it to us in the late game. And if in game 2 they were able to win with a better team fight composition, we're going to make sure that never happens. We're going to make sure that we have a comp when it comes 40 minutes. There's 0 chance of them defeating us. That's why they went for this composition. For me, though, it's a very, very slow composition. You have Gangplank not scaling up with the Kleptomancy. You have Caitlyn, who doesn't have a mid game. Azir is kind of the same thing as well. The main reason I feel like OMG lost this game is because they didn't pull the trigger enough early when they had their Triforce power spikes.
So does this type of comp and this type of adaptation from EDG, does this bring them back into an elite? Or if they tried this against a Rogue Warriors, a Snakes, and Invictus Gaming, does this give them a hope? Is this good news from EDG, or is this simply them, taking a step back and being conservative when they need to continue pressing forward?
I honestly feel like this is a bit of a cop-out. I feel like if you play this against Snake, you play this against Rogue Warriors, they are going to destroy you. And the reason, there's a multitude of reasons. First of all, these teams are going to be much more aggressive in pushing their power spikes. And the second reason is, if you look at the ban picks, the Azir was 4th picked, and then the Gnar was 5th picked. I'm sorry, the Gangplank was 5th picked. So this actually
Last
leaves
back GP into Gnar.
Yes, so those are not good matchups, and what this would give better teams they would be able to play these counter matchups a lot better.
Okay, but let's go ahead and refocus then on this game about how the actual execution went, because now we know the strategies, and EDG, they did a really good job recognizing that OMG were going to have to try to play a side lane at some point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you were pointing this out during the game. Corki is down 30 to 40 CS. He doesn't have access to his rapid fire cannon. He can't have kill pressure on the Azir and the Gangplank, and it's actually forcing OMG into this 5v5. They're not fighting over a simple ward. They're fighting over the fact that they have a Kog'Maw, the relationship of their draft with the Kog'Maw, and they get slammed.
Definitely. So OMG want to play 1-3-1. They never get the item spikes to really do it outside of the first item spike. After that, EDG always group and they always try to shove down towers. Now what OMG should have done and what should have worked for them is number one, Fire Loli with an Olaf pick early. He should have done more. He got no summoners from the bot lane. He allowed EDG to snowball that, and he didn't put any pressure on the mid and top either. So when the last team fight came, this was pretty much a Hail Mary at that point. And I know I've talked a lot of trash about Scout, but he plays this team fight so beautifully. Puts 3 soldiers on the ramp, forces 2 flashes from Icon and Kog'Maw just to go over the ramp and then die to a minion wall.
And it wasn't just the execution in the team fight that was played really well by EDG. It was the fact that they were able to deny that CS from Corki. Yes. Because they have a Kog'Maw composition. You were talking about the weakness of running a 1-3-1 with Kog'Maw. He doesn't have a lot of safety there. They could never leave him alone. So Icon wasn't able to get out, swing out to those side lanes, grab the farm that he needed to get the itemization. He had to constantly be next to it because EDG were constantly pressuring with Sejuani and Kench.
Yeah, that's the big things about EDG, and what I think they did really well was that they played around their second item spike. It's very well. They pushed the maximum advantage out of it, and they forced OMG to come into them, which OMG never did.
But that said, collectively looking at the series, we still went to Game 3. And so now my next question is, what is it about EDG that means that they keep going to Game 3? Because they keep dropping maps to very, bottom tier teams. They dropped to TOP, they dropped to LGD, and now they dropped to OMG in very convincing fashions.
So my read on EDG is that they actually have a bit of hubris with them. They kind of overthink what they can do. We see EDG as kind of a flawed project right now. There's very certain specific things they can do well, and that's mid-game grouping up with Mako and iBoy and basically snowballing the mid-game team fights. Talia, Malzahar, that's the type of composition we want to see from them. But they tend to see themselves a bit different. They tend to see themselves like, we're able to play Azir, we're able to play Swain in Game 2. And those are picks we just don't really think they execute that well on.
But ultimately, when we see teams that keep reaching for these newer picks, keep reaching for these different styles, we usually compliment them. It's not about plateauing, it's about constantly looking for that evolution. So why are we harder on EDG when they decide to look for these experimental picks and they don't work out? And we call it hubris instead of experimentation.
Well, it's a very easy thing because they were once one of the best teams in the LPL. They won 4 championships.
The curse of being the best?
Yeah, they won 4 championships out of the previous 8. We sort of expect that continued success, even though they're a different EDG. So, yes, it is a bit of us being biased because of their history, because of their past, but it's also because we think that they could hone on those compositions that they're good on and actually make them excellent. So that's the big point.
Last question then. Is this an EDG that we see in the finals, or are they completely dead from the discussion?
Well, Clear Love, if you're watching this, if you come back, I'll change my opinion. But so far, no. Definitely not.
You heard it here. We need Clear Love. Now, that said, guys, the next match is over in Chongqing, so there will be a slight delay because it starts on time for the viewers there. But don't go anywhere. We will be right back.